You are listening to Buddha's Healing a Sanctuary, to contemplate the Buddha's teachings and live a life of serenity amidst the world. The haunting stillness of long, sleepless nights, when twilight falls. All things in this world seek their sanctuary to rest after a long day of ceaseless movement. The birds cease their songs. The blossoms fold their petals, and the bustling crowds retreat, yielding to the profound stillness of the night. By the natural order of creation, the dark night is a gentle blanket cradling the human frame, restoring vitality and soothing the day's weariness. Yet for many, the gathering darkness marks the opening of an invisible door to silent torment. Chronic insomnia does not erupt violently like a physical injury. It creeps in, silently gnawing at the core of one's being. Dear listeners may lie there, upon a familiar, comfortable bed, closing the eyes tightly, praying for a peaceful dream. Yet ironically, though the physical form is utterly exhausted, the mind remains stark awake, burning like a bright flame in the dead of night, hour after hour, moment after moment. The ticking of the clock in the vacant space becomes like heavy hammer blows, striking a nervous system already taut as a violin string. One tosses and turns, sighs in frustration, and eventually sinks into despair. Awakening the next morning brings no sense of refreshment to welcome the day, but a heavy weight upon the shoulders. A clouded mind, irritability, and depleted life force. Thus, day after day, month after month, year after year. Sleeplessness transforms into an absolute terror. Those afflicted with long-standing insomnia begin to fear the darkness, to fear their very own bed. They look at others drifting into sleep so effortlessly with a heart full of yearning and sorrow. This is indeed a deep form of suffering, an invisible imprisonment that those on the outside can rarely comprehend fully. It not only ravages the immune system and ages the cells, but more gravely, it robs the inner mind of its innate stillness and the light of wisdom. Common misconceptions when trapped in the cycle of sleeplessness. Confronting this profound affliction, the survival instinct drives individuals to frantically search for an escape. Yet the more one struggles, the deeper one sinks into the quagmire of exhaustion. There are common misconceptions that most fall into, transforming insomnia into an endless, vicious cycle. The first misconception, forcing oneself to sleep and harboring resentment. Sleep is inherently a gift that arrives naturally when the mind achieves a state of absolute relaxation. It is like a small bird. If one sits quietly and serenely, it will voluntarily perch upon the shoulder. But if one tries to chase and force it, it will fly away in fear. Lying awake on the bed, anxiety and restlessness begin to arise. One tells oneself that sleep is necessary because it is late and tomorrow holds many responsibilities. That very notion of forcing sleep creates an invisible pressure. When this desire remains unfulfilled, the mind gives rise to anger and irritation toward oneself and toward the minor noises outside. The turbulent energy of anger causes the heart to beat faster, the blood to circulate intensely, and as a result, the night is spent wide awake in quiet fury. The second misconception, dependency on external objects and sedative medications. When patience is entirely exhausted, deep reliance is placed on external factors. One changes to a softer mattress, extinguishes all light, soundproofs the room, drinks expensive herbal teas, and ultimately resorts to sleeping pills. Sedatives can forcefully freeze the nervous system temporarily, creating an artificial state of unconsciousness. But this is not natural sleep. It is akin to knocking someone unconscious to stop their pain rather than healing the underlying wound. With prolonged use, the body builds a tolerance. The dosage increases day by day. and the toxic side effects begin to destroy the internal organs. Above all, when the pill is absent, the terror of sleeplessness returns even more fiercely than before. The third misconception: bringing a world of wandering thoughts into the space of rest. The bed is meant to be a place of total relinquishment. Yet many turn it into a desk, a battlefield of racing thoughts. The moment the head rests upon the pillow, the mind replays the films of the day, an unkind word that caused friction, an unfinished project, an unpaid debt, or vague anxieties about tomorrow. This clinging to the past and hovering over the future causes the stream of consciousness to rush uncontrollably. The body lies still, but the soul is running a marathon in some distant realm. Why we must see through the root cause of insomnia. To completely sever a toxic tree, one cannot merely pluck the withered leaves from its branches. One must dig deep into the earth to uproot it completely. Insomnia is no different. If one merely views this as a biological ailment of cellular malfunction or chemical imbalances in the brain, one will forever remain a healer of symptoms. It is vital to understand that the states of body and mind are intricately bound, entirely inseparable. The physical form is the carriage, while consciousness is the charioteer. When the charioteer is in a state of panic, frantically chasing the ghosts of fame, wealth, attachment, and aversion, how can the carriage of the physical body ever slow down to rest? The sleepless night does not stem from eyes that refuse to close, but from an inner mind that refuses to let go. As long as one fails to recognize the undercurrents surging within consciousness, peaceful sleep will remain a luxury. Understanding this truth carries immense significance. It allows esteemed practitioners to cease blaming external circumstances, to stop poisoning the physical frame with suppressive chemicals, and to begin turning the gaze inward. Discerning the root of insomnia is the very first step toward entering the path of meditation, using right mindfulness to illuminate the dark corners of the interior realm, thereby untying every knot and releasing blocked energies. Only when the inside is truly empty and pure can tranquility manifest naturally. The Buddha's teachings on the art of letting go to reclaim peaceful sleep. Throughout his years of propagating the Dharma for the benefit of all living beings, the Blessed One used his enlightened wisdom to thoroughly understand the deepest miseries of human existence. He was not only a spiritual master, but also the supreme physician, healing all mental and physical maladies of sentient beings. Regarding the state of tossing and turning in restlessness, his teaching does not rely on profound medical formulas, but on a single, exceedingly simple word that carries deep ultimate truth: letting go. The Buddha taught that the uncultivated mind of worldly beings is like a monkey swinging through the canopy, constantly grasping one branch only to hastily reach for another, without a single moment of rest. This monkey is a metaphor for the restless, discursive mind. When the eyes are closed in search of sleep, the monkey mind begins swinging from past memories to future anxieties. All tension within the nervous system stems from the stubborn effort to hold onto something. One holds onto anger toward a colleague, holds onto regret over a past mistake, or holds onto the greedy desire for more. To cure chronic insomnia at its root, the Buddha guides us through the practice of letting go meditation, which is the practice of total relaxation. Letting go in the Buddhist tradition is not an attitude of irresponsibility toward life, nor is it a flight from reality or a neglect of duty. Letting go within the spirit of the Buddha-dharma means seeing clearly the impermanent nature of all phenomena. All things in this world, joy, sorrow, gain, and loss, arise through conditions and must inevitably cease when those conditions dissolve. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing truly belongs to anyone to be grasped so tightly. When practicing the meditation of letting go before sleep, esteemed practitioners are advised to bring consciousness back to the physical form in the present moment. The Buddha taught to contemplate that the day has passed and life has diminished accordingly. What has been done or left undone belongs entirely to the past. Let the past rest quietly in the tomb of time. Do not drag the afflictions of yesterday onto the bed of tonight. The practice of letting go begins with the physical form. Lie down in the most comfortable position, letting the entire body rest completely upon the mattress. Then use the light of right mindfulness to gently sweep through every part of the physical frame. Begin at the crown of the head, acknowledge any tension in the forehead and eyes, and softly whisper within the mind. Relax. Continue to move the attention down to the shoulders, the very place bearing the heavy burdens of worldly livelihood. Feel the weight, and release it completely. In this manner, let mindfulness pass through the chest, the heartbeat, relaxing the abdomen, down to the tips of the toes, when awareness illuminates every inch of flesh and skin. The mind is left with no vacant space for wandering thoughts to proliferate. Furthermore, one must even let go of the very desire for sleep. Tell oneself that whether sleep comes tonight or not, this body and mind are being allowed to rest and be deeply cherished. When the fear of insomnia disappears, and when the resistance to wakefulness ceases, tension will automatically dissolve. The mind at that moment becomes like a mirror-like lake, free from any ripples. When the winds of wandering thoughts cease to blow, the sediment at the bottom settles, leaving the water crystal clear, reflecting the full moon. Peaceful sleep will naturally envelop the life form like the most effortless breath of existence, nurturing every cell and restoring vitality for a day of true awakening. The quiet paradox woven into the fabric of sleepless nights. As the physical form rests in the quietude of the night, a profound paradox often unfolds within the human consciousness, a gentle contradiction that many encounter but few truly understand. The harder one strives to grasp the elusive veil of sleep, the further it slips away. Why is it that the intense desire for rest becomes the very obstacle preventing it? In the secular world, effort is often praised as the key to success. To achieve a goal, one must exert force, apply discipline, and strive relentlessly. However, the realm of the inner mind does not operate on the mechanics of worldly ambition. When the mind dictates, "I must sleep now," it immediately creates a state of internal resistance. This fierce demand is, in its essence, a subtle form of grasping and craving. It is an outright rejection of the present reality. When the current reality, being awake, is rejected, conflict is born. This silent war fought upon the mattress floods the nervous system with the turbulent energy of distress and anxiety. The mind is constantly checking the clock, measuring the hours lost, and calculating the exhaustion waiting at dawn. Esteemed practitioners may notice this delicate truth. True peace can never be achieved through warfare, especially a war waged against one's own mind. The sleepless night is not a battlefield to be conquered. It is a turbulent river that simply needs to be understood. If one jumps into a rushing river and frantically pushes against the water to calm the waves, the thrashing only creates more chaos. To calm the water, one must simply step out of the river, sit upon the bank, and allow the currents to settle on their own. This brings us to the profound realization that the cure for the restless night lies not in doing more, but in the radical, graceful act of doing absolutely nothing, letting go of the very desire to sleep. The profound teaching on the nature of observing the wandering mind, to illuminate the path out of this mental labyrinth. the Blessed One offered a timeless wisdom regarding the nature of thought and consciousness. In the sacred discourses detailing the foundations of mindfulness, it is taught that whatever the mind frequently ponders and dwells upon, that inevitably becomes the inclination of consciousness. The awakened one instructed that when a practitioner encounters a turbulent mind, they should not forcefully suppress it, nor should they chase after its endless illusions. Instead, the instruction is profoundly simple yet infinitely deep. When a thought of desire arises, merely recognize, here is a thought of desire. When a thought of anger or anxiety arises, merely recognize, here is a thought of anxiety. One must observe the rising and falling of mental formations, just as one observes the passing clouds in the vast, empty sky without attachment, without aversion, and without the illusion of ownership. The thoughts are not the self. They are merely temporary phenomena born of conditions, lingering for a moment and inevitably passing away. By maintaining this pure, detached observation, the practitioner cuts off the fuel of clinging, allowing the fires of the restless mind to extinguish themselves naturally. The practical application of silent observation in the stillness of the night. To bring this sacred teaching into the reality of a sleepless night, esteemed practitioners must fundamentally shift the relationship with their own thoughts. When lying in the dark and feeling the sudden rush of anxiety about an unfinished task or a past regret, the instinctual reaction is either to indulge in the thought and analyze it endlessly, or to panic and try to forcefully push it away. Both reactions are traps that feed the cycle of insomnia. Instead, let the mind adopt the posture of a silent, compassionate observer. Imagine the consciousness as a vast, ancient mountain, and the wandering thoughts as merely the mist drifting through the valleys. The mountain does not reach out to grasp the mist, nor does it summon the wind to blow the mist away. The mountain simply remains still, majestic, and entirely undisturbed by the changing weather. If a thought about a difficult conversation from the past surfaces, simply watch it emerge. Whisper softly within the mind, thinking is happening. Do not invite the thought in for tea, but do not chase it away with a stick either. Just watch it float across the screen of consciousness. If a wave of frustration about not sleeping arises, observe that frustration with a gentle smile. Note to oneself, the feeling of frustration is present. By placing a space of mindful awareness between the observer and the thought, the emotional charge of the thought is instantly neutralized. When esteemed practitioners stop participating in the dramas of the mind loses its momentum. It is akin to a spinning wheel. If one stops applying force, it may continue to spin for a short while out of residual energy, but eventually it must come to a complete halt. In the profound silence that follows the cessation of mental grasping, the nervous system naturally recalibrates. The breathing deepens, the heart rate slows to a gentle rhythm, and the heavy burdens of the ego are softly laid down. It is in this exquisite state of non-resistance when one is completely content with just resting quietly in the dark, asking for nothing, demanding nothing, that the miracle happens. Sleep, the gentle healer of the human realm, quietly descends like a soft veil, enveloping the mind not because it was violently captured, but because the inner space was finally peaceful enough to welcome it. An illustrative story of releasing the heavy burdens of the night. In a thriving capital of a bygone era, there lived a high-ranking imperial scholar named Lin. He was a man of immense intellect, responsible for drafting decrees, managing the kingdom's treasuries, and navigating the treacherous waters of court politics. To the outside world, Lin was the epitome of success and power. Yet, within the private confines of his grand estate, He was a prisoner to a torment that no wealth could alleviate. For over a year, he had not known a single night of true sleep. Every evening, as the palace gongs signaled the arrival of midnight, Lin's bedchamber transformed into a chamber of endless suffering. The moment his head touched the silken pillows, a storm would erupt within his consciousness. He would endlessly replay debates with rival ministers, fret over the emperor's fleeting moods, and calculate the potential disasters of the coming days. His mind was like a galloping horse with no rider, plunging recklessly into the dark abyss of anxiety. His face grew hollow, his eyes sunken, and his once brilliant mind began to fray at the edges. Having exhausted all the royal physicians and their bitter herbal concoctions, a desperate Lin decided to seek out an old Zen master named Wu, who resided in a humble, dilapidated temple at the edge of the bamboo forest. Arriving at the temple gates in the quiet of the afternoon, Lin found Master Wu sweeping the courtyard with slow, deliberate strokes. The scholar fell to his knees, his voice trembling with exhaustion. "Venerable Master, I beg of your compassion. I am a man drowning in my own thoughts. The night is a terror to me. I have wealth, I have power, yet I cannot buy a single moment of rest. My mind will not stop and my body is perishing. Please, teach me the secret to capturing sleep." Master Wu stopped sweeping, leaning gently on his bamboo broom. He looked at the frail, tormented scholar with eyes as deep and still as an ancient well. "Sleep is not a thief to be captured, Minister Lin," the master spoke softly, "nor is it a servant to be commanded. Come with me." The master led Lin to the back of the temple, where a small wooden table stood under the shade of a large banyan tree. On the table was a ceramic bowl filled with water from the nearby stream. Though the water was heavily mixed with mud and swirling debris from the recent rain. "Tell me, Minister." Master Wu pointed to the bowl. "How would you make this muddy water clear?" Lin, eager to prove his intellect and find a quick solution, immediately reached for the bowl. "I must strain it, Master, or perhaps I can use a spoon to scoop out the dirt. Or if I blow on it gently to push the debris to the edges." As Lin spoke, he picked up the bowl and began to swirl it, trying to separate the mud from the water. But the more he agitated the bowl, the murkier the water became. Frustrated, he set it back down, panting slightly. "It is impossible. The more I try to fix it, the worse it gets." Master Wu smiled gently, a smile that seemed to carry the warmth of 1,000 sunrises. "Precisely. The nature of muddy water is that any effort to force it into clarity only stirs the mud further. The only way to make the water clear is to set the bowl down and leave it entirely alone." The master gestured for Lin to sit beside him in silence. For an hour, they sat without exchanging a single word, simply watching the bowl. Gradually, miraculously, the heavy mud began to sink. The swirling particles drifted to the bottom, and the water at the top became crystal clear, perfectly reflecting the blue sky and the green canopy above. "Your mind, Minister Lin, is exactly like this bowl of muddy water," Master Wu whispered into the quiet air. "During the day, the affairs of the court, your ambitions, your fears, and your calculations stir the mud. When night falls, instead of setting the bowl down, you carry it to bed. You try to force the thoughts to stop. You use worry to fight worry. You use anger to fight sleeplessness. And so, the mud continues to swirl." Tears welled up in the tired scholar's eyes, as the profound simplicity of the truth pierced his heart. "How do I set the bowl down, Master?" Lin asked, his voice breaking. "The thoughts are so loud, by no longer fighting them. When a thought of the emperor arises tonight, simply say to yourself, 'Ah, a thought of the court has appeared.' Do not invite it for tea and do not try to chase it away with a broom. Just observe it. Let the mud swirl. But do not shake the bowl, accept the wakefulness. Surrender the need to control the night. When you truly give up the battle, the mud will settle on its own. That night, Lin returned to his estate. He lay on his bed, and as expected, the anxieties came rushing in. But this time he remembered the bowl. He did not fight. He simply lay there, breathing softly, watching the thoughts rise and fall like clouds passing over a mountain. He completely surrendered the desire to sleep, content simply to rest his body. In the midst of that profound surrender, without him even noticing, the heavy mud of his mind settled. For the first time in over a year, the scholar fell into a deep, dreamless, and profoundly healing sleep. Universal spiritual lessons drawn from the muddy water. The story of the restless scholar holds a mirror to the inner struggles that many face in the modern world. The profound lesson here is not about acquiring a new technique to conquer insomnia, but about completely transforming the relationship with one's own mind. We learn that awakening does not always mean exerting more effort. Sometimes, the highest form of spiritual awakening is the courage to do absolutely nothing, to simply let things be. When the mind is allowed to settle naturally, without the interference of the ego's demands, the natural order of the body restores itself. Letting go is not a sign of defeat or weakness. It is the ultimate manifestation of wisdom. It is the realization that the grasping mind is the creator of its own suffering. By relinquishing the tight grip on past regrets and future anxieties, esteemed practitioners create an internal spaciousness where the natural healing energies of the universe can flow unobstructed. Let the night be the night. Allow the body to rest on the mattress and allow the mind to rest in the present moment. By adopting the posture of a silent, compassionate observer, the storms of consciousness will eventually run out of energy and subside into tranquility. If you find these insights meaningful and wish to continue cultivating a peaceful mind, please subscribe to the Buddha's Healing channel and leave a thought below to nurture wholesome seeds together every day. As the echoes of these reflections gently fade into the surrounding space, let esteemed practitioners allow the mind to come to a state of complete rest. The journey through the turbulent landscapes of the sleepless night is not meant to be a struggle, but a profound unveiling of the self. We have explored the intricate webs of thought, the exhausting battles fought in the dark, and the exquisite relief that arises from the simple act of letting go. Throughout this discourse, it has become abundantly clear that insomnia is rarely a mere physical ailment. Rather, it is a spiritual symptom. It is the loud, undeniable echoing of a mind that has forgotten how to lay down its burdens. The sleepless night is a mirror, reflecting the attachments, the fears, and the relentless need to control an ever-changing world. When one realizes that the true obstacle to rest is not the darkness of the room, but the gripping tension within the consciousness, the path to healing illuminates itself. The sacred practice of nightly relinquishment. To truly transform the agonizing hours of the night into a sanctuary of peace, one must cultivate a radical shift in perspective. The bed must no longer be a battlefield, but an altar of surrender, the wisdom of the settling mud. Whenever the mind races in the quiet hours, recall the image of the muddy water. Do not agitate the bowl by fighting the thoughts, nor by berating oneself for being awake. Practice the profound art of non-interference. Allow the thoughts to arise and pass away, observing them with a gentle, detached compassion. When the ego stops struggling to control the internal weather, the mud of anxiety will naturally settle, revealing the clear, pure essence of consciousness beneath. The gentle release of the day. Before laying the head upon the pillow, practice the conscious release of all worldly affairs. The Buddha taught that what is past is already gone, and what is future has not yet arrived. The burdens of the day do not belong in the sanctuary of the night. Make peace with the unfinished tasks. Forgive the unskillful words spoken, and softly release all expectations for tomorrow. Let the mind rest solely in the gentle rhythm of the breath, anchored safely in the present moment. Embracing the stillness, cultivate a deep acceptance of the present reality if sleep does not come immediately. Do not despair. Relinquish the demand for unconsciousness and simply embrace the opportunity to rest the body in the quiet dark. Tell oneself it is enough simply to breathe. It is enough simply to be still. In this state of profound, unresisting acceptance, the tension that fuels insomnia naturally dissolves, and the healing embrace of sleep will arrive when the conditions are perfectly ripe. The gentle reminders for the path of peace. This human journey is filled with noise, responsibilities, and ceaseless motion. Yet, within every individual lies an untouched sanctuary of profound stillness. The teachings of the awakened one are not distant philosophies, but practical keys to unlock that very sanctuary. Do not wait until exhaustion breaks the spirit to practice the art of letting go. Begin tonight. As the day draws to a close, consciously decide to set down the heavy armor of the worldly self. Breathe in the cool air of the evening, release the tension held in the shoulders, and allow the heart to soften. When the inner world is swept clean of grasping and aversion, the night will no longer be a source of fear, but a gentle friend, offering the profound, restorative rest that every weary traveler deserves. If these shared reflections have brought a sense of serenity and clarity to the heart, esteemed practitioners are gently invited to subscribe to the Buddha's healing channel and leave a meaningful reflection below, so that a collective community of awakening may be nurtured together each day. May all beings be free from the torments of the restless mind. May all find true peace in the silent hours. And may the light of the Dharma guide every step through this transient world.